Hi friends, welcome back to the Southern Homestead. Today I'm going to spend time in the kitchen because it's almost Mardi Gras and I'm going to be making a king cake. So I am definitely going to leave my hat on even while in the house because I am cold-natured. As you can't tell by my red nose. And usually when I'm outside in the wintertime and it's windy like today, my cheeks get windburnt and I just don't do too well in the cold. For the king cake recipe, I'm just going to be using my bread recipe and I'm going to make sourdough bread. But there's going to be a few things different in the making of the actual king cake itself. And I'm going to share that with you. A traditional king cake has colored sugars on top. It is purple, green, and gold. I do not use artificial dyes or artificial preservatives, artificial colorings, or anything like that. So my colors may be slightly different, but the concept is the same. And I'll show you what I'll be using for those colors later on. So the first thing we have to do to start our bread for the king cake is to bloom our yeast. And to my mixing bowl, I'm going to add 1 cup of warm water, 3 teaspoons of yeast, and about 1/4 cup of raw honey. You could use sugar if you wanted to in place of the honey. And once the yeast has bloomed, you'll notice the top of the mixture will become quite foamy. And that's when you know, number 1, it's ready to go. And number 2, you have really good active yeast. I've already bloomed the yeast and it is ready to go. So we're going to add just a few things. Going to add about 1 teaspoon of salt, a couple of tablespoons of melted butter, and a cup of sourdough. We're just going to put on our dough hook. Okay, and to this mixture, we're going to add 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Once the dough has been kneading for at least 8 to 10 minutes or so and forms the dough ball, then we're going to go ahead and leave this in the bowl, cover it with a tea towel, and I'm going to let it rise in the oven with the light on. So this is going to rise for about 1.5 hours. Just a few fun facts if you don't know the history of the traditional king cake. The king cake is used to represent the 3 wise men who traveled to find the baby Jesus. The traditional shape is oval or round. Also with the king cake, the sugar icing on top, the 3 different colors. You have the purple, which represents justice. You have gold, which represents power. And then you have green, which represents the Christian faith. The tradition of hiding the little baby inside the king cake is used to represent baby Jesus. The king cake actually originated, we think, somewhere in France and was adopted down in New Orleans around the late 1800s, 1870-ish. So what we do down here in the South during Mardi Gras season, if you're hosting a party, then you provide the king cake. You either make it or you buy it from one of the local bakeries down here. It is said that whoever finds the little baby inside their piece of king cake is supposed to host the next party and in turn provide the next king cake. Not only at parties, but we do that at work environments as well. So if you work in an office, someone brings the king cake and then whoever finds the baby will bring the king cake the next time, usually within a couple of days. And this happens all throughout the entire Mardi Gras season. So my dough has finished its first rise and it has doubled. So now we're gonna shape the dough into the king cake shape. Okay, and so now we're just gonna put some softened butter over the dough. So I'm just gonna kind of spread that out on there. The traditional flavored king cake is a cinnamon king cake, so that's what I'm gonna do. It's similar to making cinnamon rolls. All right. Next, we're gonna put down some brown sugar and cinnamon. I'm gonna be cutting this dough into thirds so that I can braid it. I'm gonna cut the king cake dough into 3 strips. You can see I've kind of left openings between the brown sugar to do this. And now what I'm gonna do is roll up each individual section, kind of like you would if you were gonna make cinnamon rolls. And then I'm just gonna pinch it to seal it. And I'm gonna pinch off the ends as well. Okay, and I'm gonna do that for the 2 remaining sections. Okay, so now for the fun part, we're gonna actually braid the dough, and we're gonna start by pinching these ends together, pinch and tuck, and then we're gonna start braiding. I'm gonna fold one over this way, then this one goes to the middle, and we're gonna continue braiding all the way down. And when you get to the end, you're gonna pinch and fold under like that. Okay, and there you have your basic king cake shape. I went ahead and I did the oval. You could also do a circle. We're gonna let this rise again for about 45 minutes or so, and then we'll be ready to bake. And my king cake has finished its second rise. I'm gonna preheat the oven to about 350 and then bake it for 30 to 40 minutes. So I've just been making the colored sugar to go on top of the king cake. And since we're trying to do all natural, no artificial dyes or food colorings, the colors are not going to be exact, but you get the general idea. We're going to use some organic matcha to get our green. Then we've got some purple sweet potato powder for the purple, and then a little bit of turmeric for the gold. So for the base icing, we're gonna use a cup of powdered sugar. I'm gonna do a little splash of vanilla and a couple of tablespoons of milk.
As I get 1/3 of the king cake iced with the base icing, then I'll take one of my colored sugars and sprinkle it onto that section. And I'll continue that all around the king cake.
So I'm just finishing the icing of the king cake. And the key is to sprinkle the colored sugars on top of the icing while it's still wet. And again, we are not using traditional artificial food dyes and food colorings. So the colors aren't going to be exact, but they're close enough. And there it is, sourdough cinnamon king cake. After you've finished putting the icing and the final touches on your king cake, it's time to put the baby in place. And if you don't have a little toy plastic baby, You can always use a pecan or a walnut, or you could even use a fava bean. In my case, I'm just going to use pecan. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. And if you celebrate Mardi Gras, I hope it's a great one. If you don't celebrate Mardi Gras and it's just another day of the week for you, I'm sorry. As for the rest of us, laissez les bon temps rouler, or let the good times roll. See you next time.